Late one evening in a quiet roadside diner, three gangsters thought they could bully a helpless waitress without consequence. But what they didn't realize was that someone in the corner was watching every move. A calm, silent man with a past of discipline and a German shepherd trained for moments like this. Night settled over the quiet roadside diner, wrapping the windows in fading neon light while the smell of fresh coffee drifted through the air. Emily moved between the tables with tired grace, the kind that comes from long shifts and silent resilience, offering small smiles to strangers who barely noticed. The regulars chatted softly, forks tapping plates, until the door swung open and three men walked inside with loud laughter and careless swagger. Their voices cut through the calm like broken glass. At first, they joked with each other, pretending to be friendly, but their tone carried something darker beneath the humor. They slid into a booth near the counter, snapping their fingers for attention, speaking to Emily like she was invisible and yet trapped under their gaze. She tried to stay professional, breathing slowly, forcing politeness into every word. But when one of them leaned too close, brushing her arm and smirking like he owned the room, the fragile peace inside the diner began to crumble. Conversations faded. Heads turned. No one spoke, yet everyone felt the shift, the sense that something was wrong, and that trouble had chosen this place tonight. What began as rude teasing soon turned into something colder. The men mocked Emily's voice, mimicked her movements, and laughed when she tried to ignore them. One tapped his finger on the table, demanding faster service, while another blocked her path whenever she tried to step away. Their smiles never reached their eyes. The room felt smaller with every passing second. Emily's hands trembled as she set down their drinks, the glass rattling against the table. She whispered for them to stop, but they only leaned closer, crowding her, their tone shifting from playful cruelty to whispered threats. A knot tightened in her chest as fear began to replace patience. The customers nearby looked uneasy, glancing at each other, unsure whether to intervene or stay out of danger. Emily's breathing grew shallow, her throat tight, her sense of safety slipping away. One of the men grabbed her wrist, holding it just a second too long, enjoying her panic like entertainment. In that moment, she realized she was alone against them, or so she thought. The laughter around her wasn't joy anymore. It was power, intimidation, and the frightening belief that no one would stop them. At the far corner of the diner, a man set down his coffee with deliberate calm, his movements slow and measured, as if he'd been waiting for the exact moment to stand. He wore simple clothes, nothing that asked for attention, yet there was a steadiness in his posture that felt unshakable. His eyes followed every motion, not with anger, but with discipline, the kind earned through experience rather than pride. Beside him sat a German shepherd, quiet and alert, ears lifted, gaze fixed on the escalating scene. The dog didn't bark or growl. It didn't need to. Its stillness alone spoke volumes. The man rose from the booth, shoulders squared, presence filling the room with a calm authority that cut through the tension. He took a single step forward, his voice firm yet controlled as he addressed the men harassing Emily. There was no shouting, no theatrics, only certainty. The gangsters turned toward him, the silence deepened, anticipation hanging in the air, and everyone sensed that the balance of power had just shifted. The man spoke only once, telling them to release her. His voice was calm, steady, almost quiet, yet it carried more weight than any threat. The men laughed at first, mistaking restraint for weakness. One tightened his grip on Emily's arm, daring him to do something. In the same instant, everything changed. The man moved with startling precision, closing the distance in a heartbeat. His hand locked onto the aggressor's wrist, twisting with controlled force, disarming him before anyone realized a weapon had been drawn. The thug stumbled backward, crashing into the booth as a cup shattered against the floor. Another lunged forward, but the German shepherd stepped in, powerful yet disciplined, pinning him firmly without a single bite, its eyes sharp and unwavering. The third man froze, fear replacing arrogance as the stranger guided him down with effortless control, never losing composure. There was no chaos, only execution, skill, and mastery. Emily staggered backward, breath shaking, finally free from their grasp. The entire diner watched in stunned silence as the confrontation ended almost as quickly as the gangsters, once loud and confident, now stared at the floor, their arrogance shattered. Emily stood near the counter, tears still glistening in her eyes, overwhelmed by relief and disbelief. The officers thanked the man, but he simply replied with humble assurance, explaining the situation clearly, never exaggerating his actions. The diner slowly returned to life, whispers spreading through the room as people realized how close danger had truly come. Emily took a deep breath, finally feeling safe, finally understanding that the stranger who sat silently in the corner hadn't just been a customer. He had been a guardian waiting for the moment when someone needed him most. When the officers left, the diner fell quiet again, the tension melting into gratitude and calm. Emily tried to thank the man, but he simply offered a reassuring nod, placing his jacket gently around her shoulders before returning to his table. The German shepherd sat at his side, no longer fierce, only loyal and warm-hearted. He refused praise, paid his bill, and walked toward the door like nothing extraordinary had happened. Yet everyone in the diner knew better. They had witnessed quiet courage, the kind that doesn't seek recognition, the kind that steps forward only when it matters. As the man and his companion disappeared into the night, a powerful truth lingered in the air. Real strength doesn't boast, threaten, or demand attention. It protects, acts with discipline, and leaves behind a reminder that heroes sometimes walk among us in silence.